but don't always think of the success in dollars and cents. Think of it more as in the connection of helping someone else enjoy a meal that, you know what, maybe they didn't have to leave their house, and that's a blessing for them.
Tips from Trestle is brought to you by eMenu Choice Point of Sale, Wiseox AI, and Benny Keith Food Service. Welcome to Tips from Trestle, the Senior Living Food and Hospitality Podcast. This podcast explores the senior living industry with a unique focus on food, hospitality, and the community experience. I'm your host, Aaron Fish. My goal for this podcast: educate, inform, and inspire leaders in senior living. How? By bringing the resident and customer experience to the front of mind in our industry. We should bring the passionate spirit of food and hospitality to everything that we do and everyone we serve each and every day. So what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. Welcome to today's episode of Tips from Trestle. Joining me are two exceptional leaders reshaping culinary services in senior living communities. First, I'd like to introduce Jasmine Killebrew, a seasoned food and beverage leader with over a decade of experience in operations, logistics, and client relations. Currently the Assistant Director of Culinary Services at the Sharon at South Park, Jasmine brings a proven track record of exceeding operational goals and fostering positive connections. I'm also excited to welcome Chad Lauderbaugh, the Director of Culinary Services at Sharon Towers. With 24 plus years of expertise spanning restaurants, retail concepts, and senior living, Chad is a visionary leader adept at menu development, cost control, and staff training. Jasmine, Chad, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, this is super exciting. So I learned that the Sharon was doing a ghost kitchen from seeing a post by your guys' boss, Milton, who's the COO, and got really excited. And having worked with Milton and met him at conferences and talked to him about a number of things and having him on the podcast, I immediately reached out and said, I need to know what you're doing, because I've talked about ghost kitchens in like the theoretical sense in senior living, but you guys are doing it. And so, Chad, I want to start with you. And I'd love for you to just give us a quick background on the Sharon, the dining program, kind of lay the groundwork. So that way, when we get into ghost kitchens, we kind of know how it fits into your overall plan.
Yeah, well, I'd like to, Aaron. Yeah, and you could say that we're haunted by the ghost kitchen. It's an additional revenue stream that's added on to our current platform. So currently at the Sharon, we just finished a renovation project last year where we added on another venue. So now we have 4 total venues. It takes care of 300 plus independent living residents and about 100 residents that are up on skilled nursing. The Sharon at South Park is a continuing care retirement community here in the south part of Charlotte in North Carolina. And so we average about 900 meals a day, and that's before events and platters for wine and cheese and things of that nature. So we're always moving. We probably have a labor model of about, I'd say, 3,000 labor hours per week, somewhere around that, maybe 2,900 to 3,000, probably invoiced just for food from our 3 vendors, probably about $30,000 a week, constantly moving product in and out. And the one thing that we strive to provide our residents and the employees, because the employees go to our venues as well, especially the bistro, is something that they can enjoy and the cost is right due to a variety of different circumstances, and we're giving them quality products. So, and that's a chore in of itself. As you mentioned, Milton, he's such a great man and such a visionary, but when he gets an idea, he's going to do it, right? So, he had said, hey, I know you got all these venues open, and we were actually headed right into holiday season, which everyone knows in our industry and any industry in restaurants is like, you don't really start anything new during that time. And Milton didn't get that memo, right? So, he said, hey, I had this great idea. I want to start utilizing a platform like DoorDash to do deliveries to the community. And so we implemented that during November and December. As far from a variance report and as far as from a cost standpoint, P&L, we have yet to see the impact when it comes to that. But I mean, I have a team of almost 3,000 hours, and my team is awesome. We have 91 people that work for me, including myself. And most of them have been here 18 plus years. A lot of people have been here through the COVID pandemic and afterward, and really just took the bull by the horns. We leveraged our friends over in marketing to get different bags and stickers and everything like that done. A lot of work from Jasmine's team went into making sure that Milton's wish was heard and granted. We've been able to implement it to, I would say, success. I mean, we have people that call us. So I would say, as long as they're
Uh,
calling, it's working. So
Definitely. No, that's always been in my mind the hesitation, I think, by operators, but it's will they pick up the phone or will they go to the app and will they order from the ghost kitchen once they realize maybe it's tied to a senior living community, right? Do you have to worry about that stigma? And so, Jasmine, one thing that I'm curious about when you think about the day-to-day dining experience for the residents, how does the ghost kitchen, which by the way, I never asked you, what's the name of your ghost kitchen concept?
Do we have a name?
well, fine dining concept, Allison's. But
Oh,
in order,
okay.
yeah, but to go along with the pun, bad joke, I was going to call it like Spooky House of Delight, or something like that. But no, it's Allison's, and Allison's is our fine dining concept. So we have
Got it.
the four venues. So we have Allison's and the Wolf Lounge, and then we also have the Overlook, which is kind of like our main dining room, which we have about 19 to 20 different items on there, and then our bistro, which is lovingly called the bistro. They haven't christened that with a different
Yeah.
name yet. But yeah, the ghost kitchen is run out of Allison's. And then so anyone who uses that menu has the opportunity to get like an 8-ounce filet, lamb chops. We also have a grass-fed veal chop. So if you want to try a little tenderness, that's there. We have a fresh fish of the day currently. We're using Chilean sea bass. And then we have house scratch made items that are the starches and the vegetables. So that's what we've used.
Got it. Yeah. Well, thank you for clarifying. I don't know why I didn't ask you at the top of the conversation. But to get to the dining experience, I was getting ready to ask about how did bringing on the ghost kitchen concept with Allison's, how did that impact the dining experience for your residents when you think about the addition of it versus what you would maybe just normally be offering prior to?
I would say that there has been minimal to no impact to the residents that's currently on site. The Ghost Kitchen program was launched and marketed towards what we would call our residents that are on the waiting list. And that's exactly what it sounds like. They're on a wait list, they've made a deposit, and really just waiting for a space to be available for them to come on campus. So it's been a way for them to enjoy an amenity that would probably seem like they can only enjoy on campus, but now it's available to them off campus as they're waiting for their space to be available.
Do you find that residents that maybe are on campus are they using the service at all, or is it really geared more for non-campus prospects and others?
It's really geared towards non-campus residents and others and residents within a certain proximity of the South Park community. We do have a delivery service on site for the residents that are on site, but it does not go through the Ghost Kitchen program.
Yeah, our facility is a campus. When you get into some of the other larger scale places like down in Florida, senior living communities like 2 zip codes. So like a DoorDash or Uber Eats ghost kitchen kind of concept, which I think is where Milton birthed, and had the spark, from a convention that he had went to down in Florida. But, in that sense, it makes perfect sense to have those revenue streams because it's more than just 400 residents. I mean, like I said, it's a zip code, for us, to Jasmine's point, it's for the early advantage residents and really any of their family members, anyone else who wants to have good food delivered to them. Our prices are pretty, they can't be beat, nor can the quality. So it's just a win-win situation. And from a logistics and an operational standpoint, everything's taking place in the back of the house. So the residents don't even know. I mean, we're blessed enough to be 100% staffed. So we have food runners. They're the ones getting everything put together after the cooks and the chefs make everything. And then our supervisor or our manager on duty always gets an eyeball on it to make sure the presentation is just like it would be to our residents in the dining room. And then it's bagged and tagged and off to the driver. So, and I don't know if a resident would notice just because of the disconnection.
Got it. Yeah. And then the reason I was curious about that and asked that question was, a lot of operators who maybe haven't got the tenured staff like you have or the experience that you both have might struggle with a delivery process on the campus like you have. So I'm glad you brought up the logistical aspects of it. Because one of the things I was curious about was what kind of challenges did you face implementing the ghost kitchen and how did you overcome some of those? I'd love for you to talk about the front of the house experience and thinking about transitioning, meals to drivers and then still maintaining the service level for your residents. What kind of challenges did you face?
One of the challenges that we faced was getting used to the technology and having to really be in sync and vigilant with that. The DoorDash platform provides a tablet. So just getting the team in sync with checking that every day and being vigilant because it doesn't live in the kitchen. The other challenge, logistical challenge that we had was just signage throughout the campus because our campus is so big, challenges with connecting with the platform to put the correct ping at the correct
Yes.
door. So just things like that, which we have worked through. And the easy part was setting up the procedure for handing off the meals to the DoorDash person. Again, we already have a delivery process or to go process set up for our residents that live on campus. So we just transitioned that to our DoorDash or our ghost kitchen concept.
Yeah. And one of the things when I think about the challenges, right? Some individuals might think of a ghost kitchen and think, well, we got to write a whole new menu. We've got to create a whole bunch of new items to sell for this concept, right? And so, Chad, when you think about the back of the house challenges, did that factor into why you chose to just focus on using an existing operation like Allison's as opposed to creating a whole new concept to use?
Technology continues to drive changes in senior care, and that includes food service. eMenu Choice is an award-winning point-of-service application for managing the dining function in senior living communities. This mobile, touchscreen-enabled software enhances the dining experience for residents while streamlining processes for staff. The flexibility and functionality of eMenu Choice makes it an effective solution for any type of senior living environment, from independent and assisted living to skilled nursing facilities. It works for production kitchens or restaurant-style service with options for per meal or a la carte pricing and accommodates a variety of payments, including bill to account, meal credits, and credit cards. Created by a senior care provider with more than a century of experience serving older adults, eMenu Choice eliminates communication barriers between staff and residents while enabling person-centered choices and greater resident satisfaction. eMenu Choice, transforming dining for senior living.
Well, at the end of the day, we have a great executive chef named Brady Lutz. Some would say he's an award-winning chef.
That's
Yes.
fact.
That is fact, right? Yeah. So, and he is such a gifted man. He is so special. And while it might take him a little time to warm up to something, he sees the benefit in getting good food out to our community, whether it's our residents or anyone outside the community. Chef Brady is a master at his craft, not just with his hands and his mind, but with his heart. And so it was easy to lean into Allison's because, that's where we have an opportunity to market something that people don't associate with a senior living. If we wanted to do like meatloaf and macaroni cheese, I mean, look at me, I eat that all day, right? But anyone can do that, and in Charlotte, we have a lot of great restaurants and a lot of them are, in that mid to lower area entry, price point as far as like, price per good, whether it's a chicken sandwich or a burger. So why compete with people who are already doing what they do and do it at a high level? So what we offered the market was something that wasn't available, which is lamb chops, veal chops, filet, things like that, scallops, at a reasonable cost that are prepared, with care, prepared excellently underneath Chef Brady's, supervision. We have sous chef Katie Shelley, who is awesome. We have sous chef Mike Gutkowski, who's awesome. A lot of really good lead line cooks like Tony Missouri and Kyle Campbell. We have a line cook named Kayana Hudson. When I first started here, she was a server in the dining room. And so she transitioned into the kitchen. So you think about the pride that she has in knowing that she's grown herself in her career path, just like everyone else. And now they're able to like do something that literally no one's doing, you know? And then again, it gets back to Milton because he is a visionary. And sometimes when I hear his ideas, I'm like, oh man, I hope he doesn't want to do that. But I see the sparkle in his eye and I hear the joy and the little kid-like mischievousness when he's telling me because he's excited, and then I have to take what he's saying, obviously out of respect and love for him and the opportunity that he gives us here, and then I got to tie it into something tangible and then I could present it to the work group, which sometimes isn't easy, but thankfully, I'm very fortunate and blessed to have someone like Jasmine with me that helps me to connect that to everybody. But to be honest with you, the back of the house is probably the easiest part. We have market penetration and are able to give the community in our area, beautiful city of Charlotte, the Queen City, something that's different. No one thinks of a retirement community and scallops, not for delivery. No one thinks of lamb chops. So, we'll change the sauce. Like we might do a chimichurri or like a little mint pesto or something with it, or like a pomegranate reduction. Like we work in the seasons too. And so we're very fortunate, but the credit goes to Chef Brady and to Jasmine. I mean, I help, visualize the concept and kind of like help get it going. But really, Jasmine's the one that Milton, would go to and say, hey, this is my idea. I mean, he grabbed her first and then he fills me in on the back end. And then, like I said, and that's when we get to Mr. McGowan and just, like I said, the overall mischievousness in a good way, of like, hey, I got this great idea. I want you to do it. And then she's like, well, okay. And then we, like I said, but God is good, right? The Lord is good. He helps us bless others and he helps us make it happen. And really all we're trying to do here at the Sharon is to do his work, and take care of other people. And if we can extend that to our community, well, I feel that's what we're called to do.
Yeah. And you rattled off so many names and our staff is so important. And I think what it sounds like to me is because you have the staff that's so dedicated to putting out a quality product, that it almost feels like doing the ghost kitchen concept is literally just kind of dotting the I's and crossing the T's of the process. And so when you think about the operational costs of doing this, right? Because obviously, your inventory is going to have to increase some. You're going to have, maybe you're doing more meals, maybe you've got more staff hours. How has that impacted your overall operational costs?
Well, depending on who hears this, we've been doing great. We're at budget, right? But all kidding aside, right? It gets back to what I said, when I think of, and you say ghost kitchen, I think of the spiritual nature of our work that we do here for our residents. And the Lord has provided, right? Every ingredient that we have, we already have in house. And it's already items that we already have on our menu. So from a purchasing standpoint, we're flat. And we're very fortunate. Like I said, we have the staff to do it. So from a labor perspective, we're flat. That might ebb and flow as costs go up as far as inflation or a lot of rain. It looks like your zucchini is garbage time. And I know there's a lot of operators out there that know what I'm talking about. You reach into the case, a zucchini, you go to grab it, and it becomes liquid in your hands like aloe vera. Sometimes that happens. So those things we can't control, but, we're very fortunate to have an administration that really cares about doing the right thing, inside and outside the walls. And, so I know Milton, he's very responsible and he would never do anything from a fiduciary responsibility to put us at in a bad situation just in order to promote something that was so new. So we've just been very fortunate with it. I would say, and I know you're going to ask the question later on, I would say these are anytime you add on a revenue stream, whether it's a ghost kitchen or a physical plant, like I would really consult experts. I would consult people that are doing it. I would really cross the T's, dot the I's, make sure they're not all L's, in order to figure out if it works for you. Just because it's working great for us and we see a lot of positivity come from it, not everything works out the same for everyone, depending on their already current situation with their programs.
Yeah. And, in the back of my mind, kind of assumed that would be the answer you'd give, given that you lean so heavily into an existing concept. I think one of the fallacies that people might have around the idea of a ghost kitchen is that, like I mentioned before, it's got to be so different and so unique that you've got to add all these additional costs. I'm guessing your hours of operation haven't changed. You're just offering the service when you're already operating. And so those would be things I would think that might impact cost, but doing it the way you're doing it, where you can always expand if you want to, if you see the
Yeah.
value. And I think there's a lot of really well put together thought on how you've approached it. So
Yeah, I
Uh,
would suggest to people, like, if you want to do something, what is the one thing that you do really well that won't cause any kind of anxiety in your operation or any kind of, I guess, pain and suffering from a P&L standpoint, right? So if, like, let's just say that someone makes the greatest meatloaf of all time and it's bacon wrapped and it's made with beef, pork, and veal, and it comes with a delicious hybrid sauce of Heinz ketchup, hello Pittsburgh, and A1 steak sauce. If that's all that you do, great, then do it. Then you could call it loaves of love, or, try our meat tenderness, right? And just market it that way. I mean, there's always something, and someone always has an idea, like, that will catch on. And if that's what you need to do to get things started and work out the kinks, it's not causing any issues, and it's a good product, then why not? And then you can go in and start adding sides. So mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, corn pudding, whatever. Those are low cost items that you can make in bulk, that you can make your own. And if you're doing it the best, then focus on that. That's the reason why it's in your heart and you're blessed with that opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's super great advice. And so one thing that we really haven't touched on here, and I'd like to in the last couple of minutes, is just a little bit about technology. Jasmine, you had mentioned like using DoorDash, how they have their own technology. I'd love for just some conversation around like how you integrated the DoorDash platform into your existing point of sale technology and how all of that flows, and maybe what, if there was any changes or anything like that, what are some of those obstacles that operators maybe want to consider around technology?
Well, I would say we have not crossed that bridge yet. That's what we are working on, implementing the DoorDash system into the current POS system that we are using. We use a system called Full Count, and that system is specific for like organizations such as senior living communities. That's where DoorDash or outside platforms are probably not a thought when they are creating or catering the POS system around these organizations. So that is something that we are looking into. But I will say that in order to continue to evolve the Ghost Kitchen program, that is something that will be necessary to do, to integrate that into the Full Count system. And what that could look like is the tablet or technology inside the kitchen so that the kitchen can see these orders come in real time and not have to bog down the front of house.
Yeah, that's a great point of thinking about like the integration aspect and how there's so many new vendors out there that are focusing on senior living technology and how it is different. So as we wrap up, I'd love for you guys to just kind of, what's one piece of advice from both of your perspectives that you would give to any other operators out there or senior living communities that are thinking, hey, I want to do this. I see a revenue opportunity here. How can I make it a success?
Jasmine, you want to start off?
So I would say when it comes to the menu and the offerings, think of something or cater the menu that would be unique to the community that you are within. A menu or offerings catered to that the community that you're in would appreciate. That's what I would say first and foremost. And then don't be afraid to work within your community, the different departments and the different groups to really bring that to life. All of the resources are not always in the one department. There are other expertise that can really drive the idea home.
And I mean, obviously now you know why I asked Jasmine to go first. That's a perfect answer. And I don't really think I can add too much more onto what she said or what I said prior. But the one thing I would say is that to anyone that's listening, whatever community, whatever it is you're doing, just remember you're taking care of people. And that's a sacred work. That's something that we've been blessed with and fortunate as people who have chosen food service, no matter where we're at. And I would say that if you think out your concept well, and if you really put the thought and energy into, well, what's missing and what can I add in, it's going to be successful, but it's how you define that success. Like for us, success for the DoorDash is, 5 orders a week, 10 orders a week. And that might sound minuscule, but that's 10 people that we've blessed or 10 people that we've connected with that we didn't before. So I would say, think more outside the box in what you want to see. If all you're looking for is revenue, then the expenditure is never going to justify what your revenue will be. But if you want to be a blessing to others, if you want to use your talents to serve others, that work is always going to be blessed. And especially in senior living and just the hospitality community in of itself. I mean, that's the root word of it, right? Hospit. It's to take care of others. And as long as we're doing that, I feel from my own personal standpoint, it's going to be blessed. But don't always think of the success in dollars and cents. Think of it more as in the connection of helping someone else enjoy a meal that, you know what, maybe they didn't have to leave their house. And that's a blessing for them because now, after the pandemic's been over and people are getting back to work, we don't have the same together time with our families that we did before. So if you're able to offer them that time together again, because really that's the biggest commodity. It's the time together. It's that family being able to be together, or that husband and wife that maybe thought they were going to drive, 30 minutes to go spend $200. And maybe you gave them an opportunity to stay home, have a date night. You gave them that time together and you helped them maybe save a few coins of the realm. So I would always say, if any person out there that is looking to do anything, if you can bless others, don't be afraid. Thankfully, we have no one. He ain't afraid of nothing. You know what I mean? He's either going to make it work or say, hey, at least I tried. Our goal is to then take that and make sure it doesn't fail. And as long as we're coming from the standpoint of how can I use, what the Lord has blessed us to help others, I really think that will, no matter what, it's always going to work out in the end. And I really feel that any community that wants to start something like this will find benefits. And then at the end of the day, as long as you're pruning back and you're paying attention to what's going on with that tree, you're always going to produce good fruit.
Yeah. Great advice all around. So I want to thank you both for all of this insight. I think it can open people's eyes and maybe crack the door a little bit to some of the fears and hesitation others might have about launching a ghost kitchen. So Jasmine, Chad, thank you again so much for joining me today on Tips from Trestle.
Thank you for the opportunity. Don't be afraid, no ghosts.
That's right. So there it is, everybody. Another one in the books. Thanks again for tuning in. Please follow, like, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on social media at Tips from Trestle. You can also learn more about the work I do by following me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. And be sure to check out Trestle Hospitality Concepts at www.trestlehospitalityconcepts.com. I'm your host, Aaron Fish, and this has been another episode of Tips from Trestle.